recently, we have gotten video indicating Russia's using thermobaric rockets. Now, these are also called vacuum explosives or vacuum bombs or fuel air bombs. The difference between these and regular munitions is interesting. Regular munitions, essentially, you've got a bunch of explosive powder that blows up on its own, like black powder or something like that, and gives you an explosion. With a thermobaric charge, what happens is the rocket hits, or the projectile hits. There's kind of an initial explosion where it disperses a bunch of fuel into the air, and then it lights that up. So you get essentially a wave that can actually melt internal organs. Now, if you find that hard to believe, you can go over to westernjournal.com, and we have got a story on that. Russia deploys weapon that can melt internal organs and flash burn anything within 300 yards. If you want an idea of the scale of this, the last time, every now and then a thermobaric charge will act, it's not a charge, there will be a thermobaric explosion in facilities where fuel can mix in the air. The most recent, I think, huge one was in Great Britain back in 2005. I think it was in an oil refinery. I may be making that up. But I do remember the explosion was so severe that it woke people up to 93 miles away. 93 miles.
That's wild.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So the Russians are now reportedly using MRLS, multiple rocket launching systems, to rain down thermobaric charges in Ukraine. And I think that shows that they're willing to ratchet up. I think that is the Russians ratcheting up to the next level.
Yeah, I think, that might not have been one of the weapons that Ryan specifically mentioned, but it sounds like it's a pretty damaging weapon. I mean, it's pretty dark stuff, melting people's organs and flash burning things. I mean, I think if they are willing to go to that step, it's not out of the question that they would go to using TAC nukes or something of that nature. I mean, I think this proves that they're willing to take it up a notch at least.
The thing I agree with you, and the thing I thought of when I first read this and I was reading about the way thermobaric weapons work, the first thing I thought about was I think it was Curtis LeMay in World War II, who said, look, we have got to end this thing in Japan. We've got to end the war in the Pacific. We are going to, instead of taking bombers and flying way high and using tons of fuel to get up that high, we are going to fly them as low as we can, and we're going to go through, and we are going to firebomb the mess out of the Japanese. And the whole point of that was to just bring them to their knees and say, look, we don't want any more of this. That same thinking went into using the first nuclear weapons in war, too, which is what we did in Japan. Everyone in range of this knows. So you do wonder, if this doesn't work, what's the next thing Putin does? And is it an EMP, or is it a radiological weapon, or is it a TAC nuke? I still don't know what NATO will do if he deploys a TAC nuke.
I don't know how much power they can really wield over him. Like, what would they do? All the countries that are in NATO are already, sanctioning Russia. They're already against what Russia's doing. What more really is NATO going to do that's going to have an effect on Putin to make him say, oh, I better stop this now? I don't know that they have enough capital to be able to do that.
Yeah, and if he actually were to release a TAC nuke, I don't think, while that would indicate a massive ratcheting up of his willingness to use deadly force, I think it would probably discourage NATO countries ultimately. I mean, they don't want to get involved anyway out of fear of striking some sort of nuclear match. If he does it on his own, I think they're absolutely not going to want to get involved in that.
I mean, you talked about World War II, obviously the Cold War, all those things. Nobody no country wants to get into a nuclear war. I mean, that's a terrible idea, and it probably will end in destruction for every country involved. So I don't think that would be an enticing offer for any NATO ally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely.